covering music-related content of all genres. If it filters through Eastern Texas, then you know we are all over it, baby. From Texarkana to the coast, Dallas down to Houston, and everything in between, we are ETX ROCKS!
Hey, this is Hannah Kirby. Thanks for tuning in to the ETX ROCKS Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of the ETX ROCKS Show with yours truly, Boston Chris. Guys, we are super excited about our guest this week, mostly because you guys will see, if you're listening from Texas, then you will find out that I actually do not have a Massachusetts accent. We are actually talking to somebody from my hometown of Brockton, Mass. And this is our newest episode of Hayley's Country Tuesday. And I know you guys out there who are probably looking forward to listening to Hayley every Tuesday. I am not Hayley McDaniel. My voice is slightly different than hers, but I hope you guys will like this anyway. Hayley's actually out in Las Vegas while we're recording this, and that's why she does not have time to do this show. But that's okay, because this is a homegirl from my neck of the woods, and we're really excited about talking to her. Canadian superstar Jan Arden said that Robin Brodsky sings from the heart. It's in her blood. I said that she's originally from Brockton, Massachusetts. I think she's living in Weymouth now, which is right up the road from Brockton. She's actually a former contestant on Wheel of Fortune. She's a Songtown USA member, which is one of the largest songwriting communities on the planet. She just recently co-wrote a song with Hayley McDaniel called Nashville Heartbreak, which is making the rounds to Texas radio very, very shortly, and I guarantee it will climb the charts. And her resume is just chock full of all kinds of stuff, and we're really excited about talking to the one and only Robin Brodsky. Robin, welcome to the ETX ROCKS Show.
Hi, Boston Chris. It's so nice that you asked me to do the interview. I'm very excited. Thank you. No
problem. We kind of met during a studio session that Hayley was doing with a song that you and her co-wrote together, and
yes.
She said, "Yeah, I co-wrote this with Robin Brodsky, and she's from Massachusetts." And I was like, "Okay, which part of Massachusetts?" And then Hayley said, "I think someplace called Brockton."
Right.
Well, like you, I was raised in the city of Brockton, which is about 24 miles south of Boston. And anybody who is from Brockton knows that it's actually called Little Boston.
Yeah. Yeah. Home of the great Rocky Marciano.
That's right, Rocky Marciano, and the marvelous Marvin Hagler is from there as well.
Yeah, I actually went to school with some of Rocky Marciano's nephews. Peter, I think, was a grade or two ahead of me, but Rocky, his nephew Rocky, was in my class. And I used to see Marvin Hagler run outside my apartment building every day. So, yeah, they were just a big part of growing up in Brockton.
And it's funny, too, because when I was in high school, which wasn't too long after you, I think how old are you, Robin?
Do I have to say? No. I'm 43.
Okay, so you're 3 years older than I am, so we would have probably ran into the same teachers and people like that. I was coached by Armand Colombo on the football team, who was actually Rocky's brother-in-law. He was married to his sister. And,
I went to school with Tommy Colombo. Yeah.
Right, yeah. The Colombos and the Marcianos are kind of like the same family almost.
Exactly. Yeah, they're big in the town.
So I got to know, I mean, your influences really are heavily into the old style of country music, yet you're born and raised in Massachusetts. So how in the world did that happen?
I'll tell you, it's not the traditional story that you'd probably get where, grandmother and mother played country music all around the house. It wasn't like that at all. But my mother is such a huge music fan that I always had music in the house. She was always playing music. She took me to concerts all the time. I mean, when I was 11, she took me to a dinner theater, and I sat and I ate dinner and watched Lionel Richie and the Commodores perform right in front of me. So I was exposed to so much music. And when a country song would hit the pop charts, when she would be playing the radio and Willie Nelson, you were always on my mind, would come on, I would be like, oh, what's that? And my mother wasn't really into it. She'd change the station. So I'd go up in my room and listen to it, and then I'd hear Ronnie Millsap come on. Wouldn't have missed it for the world. Mm-hmm. That was my favorite song when I was around 11, 12. And Juice Newton, when I was growing up, I would hear her songs on the radio, and I was fascinated by the stories and the sound of it. So I kind of found my way to it, even though what was being played in my house was more popular music and what she grew up with, 60s music like Motown and Smokey Robinson, Diana Ross, the Beatles, the Eagles, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I was always exposed to music, so I was very lucky that way.
So growing up in Brockton, do you remember WCAV?
That sounds familiar.
Well,
WCAV, I'm not sure. That sounds familiar, though.
It used to be the radio station that was in the same building as the Enterprise, the newspaper.
Yeah.
And back when I was probably, under the age of 10, it was legitimately the only country radio station in the state of Massachusetts. And it just happened to be in my hometown, our hometown. So like yourself, growing up in Brockton, I was really heavily influenced by country music as well, because my folks would always have the radio on WCAV.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you were. I had to find my way to it. It sounds familiar, but it wasn't playing in my house, so I didn't know it existed.
Yeah, and people out there, especially down here in Texas, and a lot of our listeners are from the state of Texas, country music is kind of foreign in the Northeast. It's, people up there know it exists by and large, but it's not something they even give the time of day to. Would you agree with that, Robin?
No, that's really true. I mean, I really did. When I was in my 20s, I found Patsy Cline, and that's when it really all started for me. But growing up, I just had to grasp kind of whatever country music, like the Oak Ridge Boys, Elvira, and that came onto the charts. I just couldn't wait for it to come on the radio, but I didn't know where else to get country music.
Right, and the thing is, my dad, I was very lucky and fortunate growing up that my dad had friends that were part of the Massachusetts Country Music Association.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, have you ever heard of Yankee Jack?
Yankee Jack, no. Who's he?
Okay, Yankee Jack is actually a Hall of Famer from the Massachusetts Country Music Association, which is, I don't know if it still exists. I imagine it does, but back when I was younger, they would have an award show every single summer. And, they have a jamboree system up in Massachusetts where all the local country artists would play in the jamborees around, Marshfield State Fair was one of the places they would play. And, sometimes, all these little venues and stuff, it was almost like country music was like, underground, like.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they would have an award show every summer, and my dad's friend Yankee Jack would take home like every single award, and so
my God, that must have been awesome.
Yeah, if you remember, Jody Messina.
Oh, Jody Messina. Yeah.
Yeah, Jody Messina actually, who grew up in the town of Holyoke, Massachusetts, actually opened for my dad's friend a few times, Yankee Jack.
I didn't know she was from there.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Susan Tedeschi grew up in Norwell.
Yep.
And I actually worked Tedeschi's for a while as a cashier when I was a teenager, and I think I was so heavily into theater, and I think she was in a play in one of the festivals that I was in. And then when she started coming out, she was such an influence in my songwriting.
Right.
I love her. I've seen her a couple of times up in New Hampshire, the ballroom that burned down there, the Hampton Casino.
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
So her and Bonnie Raitt. My dad was really into music too. He's a playwright and he teaches playwriting and screenwriting, but he was always into music. He used to play guitar and sing to me when I was a kid, and he used to sing me Jim Croce, Leon Redbone.
Wow.
He used to listen to Sweet Honey in the Rock. He was always a real activist, what they called a hippie back then, but he's still an activist. And so he introduced me to real bluesy type of music, and I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, and you've been performing since basically you were a child. Tell us about, I was reading about you that you had spent 5 different summers at a musical theater. Tell us about that experience.
Stage Door Manor, and it's still there, it's going strong. Stage Door Manor is in the Catskill Mountains, and if you're a theater kid, if you have a kid who loves drama, it is the best experience in the world for a kid. I went from, I was 13 to 17, and it is just theater from the moment you wake up at like 8 in the morning till late at night. You get up, you teach classes, like improvisation, dance, voice, stage combat, makeup, everything, and then you rehearse for a show. There are 3-week sessions, and they had 3 sessions, so you can go for 3, 6, and 9 weeks. And I always went for 6 because I wanted to do more than one show. So you'd rehearse for your show, then you'd go have dinner, then you'd have another rehearsal, and then they picked the elite of the camp to do a cabaret at area hotels around the Catskill Mountains for the guests.
Wow.
So I did cabarets at Villanova and the Concord and the Aladdin, and it would be like Sammy Davis Jr. one night, and then the kids from stage door the next night. It was crazy.
That is unbelievable.
Best experiences of my life, and a lot of big stars came out of there, like Natalie Portman, John Cryer, Josh Charles from The Good Wife. He was in shows with me, and they've produced a lot of really good talent out of there.
So, I mean, just going through your bio, it's I mean, I read about you that your passion is songwriting, and when you and I talk, we talk sometimes on Facebook or whatever. It's always about the songwriting, but if you go back and look at the stuff that Robin has done throughout her career, I mean, she's been on television with shows like Showtime's Brotherhood and Body of Proof on ABC.
Yep.
And honestly, I actually knew who Robin was before Hayley told me that they were friends, because I remember seeing Robin in the movie Mystic River. And so, anybody out there who's seen Mystic River knows how incredible that movie was. Robin Brodsky played in that movie. She also played in a film called Here Comes the Boom. She's had songs that she's written played on The Voice on NBC and the History Channel's American Restoration. So, I mean, you're a songwriter, you're an actor, you're a performer, you're a singer, you sang on cruise ships. I want to know what it was as a child who was already performing in childhood. What really was your dream? Where did you want to go with your career?
Well, it was acting, singing, and dancing for a long time. It was performing right up until I had my kids. I was working as an actress, and then when they got a little older, picked it up again. But I was always a writer too. I had that in my blood from my dad. I used to write poetry and short stories when I was a kid. I won contests, and I wrote for my high school newspaper. And I wrote my first song when I was 15. I went to see the show Dreamgirls, and I was so inspired. I remember I went right home and wrote a song. So that was my first song. So all throughout my life, I've been a lyricist since I was a kid. I remember when you were growing up in the 70s and 80s, you could just open an album and see all the lyrics right there in front of you.
Right.
And I would learn every single word. I wanted to know, I didn't want to miss a word. So I always had that in me that I loved lyrics. And around 2005, I wrote the song Freedom. Actually, to go back, I was in a surfer pop band. Another thing to add to my resume. It was like a Beach Boys type of band called the Turnarounds, and I was a background singer. And I really wanted to start to add to the lyrics of the songs. I would give them ideas, but they weren't really open to having me writing with them. I was just a background singer. So I wanted to say to them, look, I feel like I'm a big part of this band, and if I can't write, then I can't be in it, because I really have this passion to write. And that's where Freedom actually came from. I was trying to think, how do I tell this band that, if I can't write, I can't be in it. And I wanted to be free of the band. And then the song Freedom just came out of me. And I said, this is nothing like surfer pop. I have to do my own style. So I started writing these songs, and what came out of me were country and bluesy. And Am I Blue is my complete tribute to Patsy Cline and the old traditional style of country, like Johnny Cash and June Carter I was listening to a lot back then. So writing's always been in my blood, but I really didn't start getting serious and calling myself a songwriter till around 2005, later in life.
And that's cool too. I mean, one of the songs you mentioned, which was "Freedom," is the song I was talking about being used on The Voice. So, what exactly did The Voice use the song for?
Well, I was really lucky. I got in on the ground floor of a publishing company called Jingle Punks. They were just starting out, and I submitted a bunch of my songs to them, and they got accepted. And it took a while for them to get big, and now Ole Publishing just acquired them this year, one of the biggest publishing companies in the world. So my songs are in there, and then one day I got a notice that my song had been picked up for an episode of The Voice. They were using it in the background for the blind auditions. So that was cool, and then I found out they were going to use it for another episode of The Voice, and then an episode of American Restoration, and another episode of American Restoration. So I was really lucky that I got in with Jingle Punks when they got started, because now I think it's pretty hard to get into the Jingle Punks Ole publishing catalog, because they're pretty big.
Yeah, I can imagine, and that's going to be, quite a step for a songwriter that's trying to be published to get to that point. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, and it's all who you know too. I mean, people say try to write with people who are already established in the business. And my cousin Steve Steve Brodsky has been in the music business for a long time. He was the lead singer of Cave In. They had a record deal. They toured opening for the Foo Fighters. Now he's the lead singer of Mutoid Man, and he works for BMG as a songwriter. So Steve and I wrote a song together, and it's in the BMG publishing catalog. So I'm hoping something happens with that song too.
And I mean, what kind of songwriter are you? Because I know there's different. Well, they tend to get their creative process in different ways. Like, some songwriters are inspired and they immediately have to start writing, while other songwriters kind of can just sit down and start a session and then, work. Basically, they're a working songwriter where, they sit down for a session, and by the end of the session, there's at least one song out of it. So, I mean, are you able to write on command like that?
I'm more of a person who gets the inspiration and then sits down and has a song done in an hour.
Right.
But if I have someone who is really inspiring me, like Hayley McDaniel, she is so inspirational. She and I can sit down. I mean, we wrote Nashville Heartbreak in an hour with a phone call and a couple of texts, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So I can sit down with people and write songs on command, but I think the person and I have to really click.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a songwriter here in Massachusetts named Catherine King, and she's recording her second album in Canada in the spring. And I Skyped with her, and we clicked immediately, and we wrote a great song, and she's going to put it on her second album. We're really excited about it. So I think it's you've heard of Shelley Peiken, who wrote for Christina Aguilera and Britney
I think
Spears.
so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, she wrote a book called Confessions of a Serial Songwriter, and her book really inspired me. It's funny, she calls it song sex, but it's really about just having chemistry and connecting creatively with the person. I can do that on command with someone who I click with, but a lot of my stuff just comes to me from just life experience, just from what I'm feeling or something I hear or see on TV, or it'll just come in out of my imagination. Or like my song Making My Way to Grace, that's my only autobiographical song. That's about how I feel about my husband and my kids. So a lot of times it just comes from inspiration.
And I mean, I definitely want to talk more about Hayley too, since she's supposed to be working right now on this episode, and she's in Vegas having fun instead. So I don't think that's cool at all, Hayley McDaniel. But I definitely want to agree with something that you said about her. About Hayley being inspirational. The thing about Hayley is, and I've known this since the moment the first time I ever really talked to her, even online. I mean, she's just got passion in droves. Everything she believes in, she's just so dang passionate about chasing it down and making it happen. It's definitely a contagious feeling, and I don't know, it's just a huge blessing to know Hayley McDaniel, and I'm just thrilled to get to work with her. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way as well.
Oh, I definitely feel the same way. I mean, I know that she's just a huge rising star herself. I tell her she's already out of well, just doesn't know it yet. And I think that's the reason that we picked, because, I mean, like you said, if you look at what I've done, it looks like I've lived 10 different lives, because whenever I've wanted to do something, if I want to be on Wheel of Fortune, I'm going to go for it,
Right.
If I want to sing on a cruise ship, I'm going to go try out. And that's the way she is. When she feels something, she just goes for it. She has that drive. I love that about her.
And that's what's great too. I mean, I basically built the show on the idealism of turning what ifs into why nots, basically.
I love that.
That's how I kind of live my show and all the promotional stuff that we do, or benefits that we work on, or whatever it may be. It's all about turning a what if into a why not. If you can dream it, then you can make it happen. You know what I mean?
It's true. I say if you dream it, you can do it. And I've been listening to all of your interviews, Hayley's interviews. I mean, ETX ROCKS, just you guys go for it. You just go for it.
And I gotta make a point right here in the middle of this interview. I am gonna give an audio clue to the identity of our 100th episode guest.
Oh, yeah.
As we just found out today that we will be giving away 4 tickets to see Pat Green at Billy Bob's in Texas on January 20th to the first person who can guess the identity of our 100th episode guest. And today's clue is, this singer was born in 1977 in the state of Texas. That is your audio clue. If you know the answer or want to guess, go to ETX ROCKS on Facebook and simply send your guess to our inbox. So that's something that we just found out today. Yeah, it is very exciting. We're very thrilled with KYKX, who's a partner of ours here in Longview, Texas, 105.7, who have sponsored our 100th episode and have supplied those 4 tickets to see Pat Green. So a huge shout out to them as well.
So the mystery guest is a Texan.
He is a Texan. Yes, he is. Or she. It could be a she. Could be a he, or it could be a she. And you guys are
come out of Texas.
And you guys out there are listening into episode number 78 of the ETX ROCKS Show. And this episode also has the distinction of being the very first episode of 2017. So
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So this will actually be out on January 3rd. It'll be our very first 2017 episode. And it's a Hayley's Country Tuesday. It just makes all the sense in the world. So again, you're a performer, you're a songwriter. Other than your songwriting, which you said is your passion, what do you think you enjoy doing most? Is it the acting? Is it the performing on stage? Which part of it do you like the most?
Oh, I do love performing on stage, but right now I have to say the songwriting, because I love the process. I love the journey of trying to find the perfect words and finding the perfect phrase, and then just when the melody hits the sweet spot, it's so exciting. And then getting it finished and getting it out into the world and having other people give you feedback on it. Like Nashville Heartbreak, I'm just so excited. It's on iTunes, and everywhere, all the download sites. And I'm just excited for Hayley to go, get it out there. And, I just think it's going to be on the Texas chart. Just really thinking positive. It's a great song. And so I think the songwriting right now, I would say, is the thing that makes me most excited.
And yeah, I think you're right. I think it'll definitely make its mark on the Texas charts. And I don't know if you know too much about how the charts work here in Texas, but to be big in Texas country is to be big in Nashville country. I mean, Texas has its own way of doing things, and there are many, many huge stars that have careers built on just playing Texas. From people like Pat Green, like we talked about earlier. So making it in Texas,
Miranda Lambert.
Miranda Lambert. made it big elsewhere. But I mean, there are dozens and dozens of superstars that never leave the state of Texas. That Josh Ward comes to mind. But to make it, but I believe the last time I talked to Hayley, she hadn't even started her radio tour yet, and the song was already 119. So
that's good.
I would say you're probably going to crack the top 100 pretty soon. And of course, the charts are on hiatus right now because of the New Year and the holidays and what have you. But I bet you it'll be a little bit higher than that when they come back from break.
That would be great. And the official radio release is January 2nd. So
that's right. It hasn't even been officially released yet.
No, and I think the official release is going to give it a boost. I mean, her voice is it's just the epitome of country music, I think.
Right. Oh, no, I agree. And then, Hayley and I, when we first met, she's a lot like you. She is heavily into the songwriting side of her talent, but one thing that she really didn't have a whole lot of is belief in her singing voice. And I'm here to tell you, she's one of the best female vocalists I've personally heard in the last year or two. I
agree. I listen to her songs she's always being played around my house. My daughter Grace, Nashville Heartbreak, her favorite song right now. She's always like, when we're in the car, she'll say, plug in your phone and play Nashville Heartbreak. I want to hear it. Her voice, you just Stand Tall and Small Town Masquerade. Just great songs.
Yeah, and I always tell her, believe in your voice. Don't just believe in your songwriting, but believe in your voice too. Because she's got a fantastic voice.
She does, and it's so sweet.
Absolutely, and she makes her lyrics. She makes her lyrics believable as well.
Yeah, the way she turns a phrase, and it's just, you can't stop listening to it. So I know when she puts out her full CD with all of the songs, I just think people are going to go crazy with her. I really do. I believe in her. I'm trying to make her believe in herself more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe in her.
Absolutely. So I saw something come across my Facebook wall the other day that you had put out on your timeline, and I was very interested by this, and I have to know the answer.
Okay.
So you have, I guess there's 2, 4, 6 different things here that you listed on your Facebook, and one of these things you did not do.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So I'm going to name these things, and I want you to tell me which ones you did and which ones you didn't, okay?
Okay.
All right. Number 1 is see Diana Ross at an airport in the Bahamas.
I did.
Okay. Brush past Ringo Starr coming out of an elevator.
Yes.
Okay. You met Clint Eastwood on the set of Mystic River.
Yes, I did.
Okay. You watched your mom fight with a security guard at a Rick Springfield concert.
He tried to take our camera away, and she would not allow that. She said, "Oh, no, you don't."
All right, so this is the one that I'm assuming is not the one that you did. And I'm probably wrong. This is it says, throw my bra on stage at a Squeeze concert.
I am not a bra thrower, no.
Yeah, I was right. I did it.
I thought of that because I was front row. I was just hanging on the stage, and there were girls around me throwing their bras on the stage. But I was not a bra thrower.
And the last one that you wrote is the one that most people guessed you did not do. And that was that you snuck past the security guard backstage and jumped into Stevie Wonder's limo.
Yes, I did. My friend and I were dancing. He was singing Part-Time Lover, which was huge on the charts then. And we ran up to the stage, started dancing, and someone handed us backstage passes. And I don't know, Stevie Wonder's concerts are long. He sings till like midnight, 1 a.m.
Right.
So when we went backstage, we were waiting for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and he still hadn't come back yet. We were just 2 antsy teenagers who were bored. So we snuck past the security guard, and we ended up in this big garage. And we saw this huge limousine, and we didn't open it. And the next thing we know, a security guard's opening the door, like, girls, get out. We're like, don't throw us out, don't throw us out. We just wanted to see what it looked like. It was huge. It had all these TVs all around. So they ushered us back into the room, and then Stevie came out, shook everyone's hand, gave us a kiss, and then we went home. It was so much fun.
I just saw that.
Crazy teenager.
I saw that come across my timeline, and you should never, ever, ever, future guests, if you're listening, don't ever post anything like that 4 days before an interview with Boston Chris, because
now I know.
Yeah, you gave me material, so I appreciate that very much.
I didn't even think about it. Now I know.
So, how long were you into acting before you landed the role on Mystic River?
Mystic River. I think that I'm trying to think when that movie came out. It's about a year. It's about a year from when you filmed.
It was 2003, I believe, when it came out.
Okay, I was just going to say 2002. So, yep, 2002 was when I did it. That was my first. I had done some TV. I mean, I did some stuff that was on Channel 5 here in Boston when I was a teenager. I did some teen, specials against drugs and public service announcement type of stuff. And then I did a pilot for a show called A Likely Story, and it actually got picked up by the network, but I wasn't able to do any more episodes because I was going away to college. I was going away as a theater major. So I did some TV, but then once I came home from school and I started pursuing film, I was lucky enough that my first one was this closed set, small scene where I got to just watch Clint Eastwood and Tim Robbins work all day, and I met them. It was amazing.
I can imagine. I mean, this film was just chock full of stars. We're talking, Clint Eastwood directed it. I mean, that's enough in itself. But then you got
right.
Sean Penn and Tim Robbins, Kevin Bacon, Lawrence Fishburne.
And I saw, and Emmy Rossum. I saw that she wasn't famous yet. She's on Shameless. She played Sean Penn's daughter, and it was the scene where she jumped up on the bar and started dancing. And I looked at her, and she was gorgeous. And I just remember thinking, she's going to be a big star someday, because she had so much light and just life to her. And then she became famous. So she wasn't known yet when I did the scene, but it was kind of cool to get to see her before she became famous.
Right, and tell us about what your role was for Mystic River.
Well, I mean, it was they just needed people to sit around the bar. I didn't, get a speaking role or anything. But it was just usually there's big open sets with tons of people. There had to be about 30 people there. So it was a really close set, and I just got to see Clint Eastwood work. And because it was such a huge film, I mean, most of the films you work on, you're lucky if you get fed.
Right.
This was like a wedding. I mean, I was eating lobster and steak, and I remember thinking this was like a bar mitzvah, It was just awesome.
The really weird thing is, growing up, and I've always had this tendency with movies too, is for some reason I'm always intrigued by credits of movies. I don't know. I always watch the movie all the way until everything stops moving on the screen.
I do too.
Yeah. So when Hayley mentioned the word, the name Robin Brodsky as my co-writer, I was like, man, why does that sound so familiar? It's like tucked into my brain somewhere. And, I said, man, that name sounds really familiar. And Hayley was like, well, she is from Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And I was like, really? And I was like, where? And she goes, I think it's Stoughton. And that's when you were watching the Facebook Live thing when Hayley was in the studio.
Well,
and,
yeah.
And you had said Brockton, and I was like, I'm from Brockton too. But then our years didn't match up as far as high school and all that goes. So I don't think I knew the name from high school. But then later on, when I found out that you were in Mystic River, that's when I put the two and two together. I remember seeing your name on the credits of that movie. It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh my God, that is crazy. I mean, there's so many towns in Massachusetts too. What are the odds?
Right, exactly. And I mean,
it's crazy.
And Hayley and I have become pretty close friends over the last few months. And one of the people she really idolizes is Lori McKenna, who actually lives in Stoughton. Yeah, she lives in Stoughton. So,
and I did live in Stoughton for years. I mean, I was.
Well, we won't hold that against you.
Thank you, because I did move back to Brockton, so I did the right thing.
Okay, well, all right, good. Then yeah, you're good then.
But from like first through fourth grade, just for a few years, my mother and I lived in Stoughton for a little while, and then we moved back. But I remember years ago, a friend of mine, also named Lori, was telling me, because she knew that I was writing and I was really into singing, and she said, "There's this lady, you've got to go hear her sing, Lori McKenna." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And I wish I could go back to that moment in time. I'm telling you, I would go back and say, "Where is she?" and go see her.
And I think the second time that Hayley and I ever met in person, we went to see Lori McKenna in Dallas.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and we were front row, and it was we were really trying to keep Hayley off the stage, and so she wouldn't end up with a restraining order or anything like that. But I just think it's such a small world that here I am living in East Texas, and Hayley lives a good 2 or 3 hours from us. So it's not like we're exactly close. It'd be like you driving to New York City. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, she's not close, but for her to have number one, she idolizes somebody from Stoughton, and then she's co-written with somebody from Brockton, and yet here I am, in East Texas. Yeah, it's just weird how the world works or whatever.
It really is a small world, because you mentioned Songtown, and Songtown, it's a small community, but there's a lot of people in it too. And I had this idea for Nashville Heartbreak, and I was holding on to it. I was just holding on to it. I was just waiting for the right person. And I saw Hayley join Songtown, and immediately something in me said, "Send it to her."
Yeah.
And when I sent it to her, she just flashed her phone number on my phone and said, "Call me." Call me.
Yep.
It was meant to be. It really was.
And Hayley is that way too. She's just so over the top and out there. It's awesome. She's not afraid of nothing, I don't think.
No, she's not. But it was crazy too, because I know that she's also very selective about her songs.
Right. She really is.
She's not going to put something out there unless she really, really believes in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just felt so excited when I sent her the song that she was so interested and really believed in it and said, "I want to put this out there and I want to sing this." I was so excited.
And I know you're really excited because you just released an album, which is called Songs from the Seventh House. And I want to let people know that we are definitely going to be talking about that very shortly, because I know that's what's going on in your life and what has you really excited right now. But I wanted to talk about the fact that, number one, you married your high school sweetheart, which I think is incredible. You're still together.
I did, yes.
And you're also a mom to 2 kids who are uber talented as well. So what I want to know is, as someone who is a childhood prodigy in a way yourself, starting performing very, very young, and now you're a mom of 2 kids that are kind of traveling the same road. Is there anything that you either regret, or is there anything you learned as growing up in it that you're trying to pass on to your children now?
I'll tell you, this is my dream come true, that my kids would want to be involved in music and theater. I'm not surprised, because it's really thick in my blood. They're my kids. The apples definitely don't fall far. But I get to keep my foot in all of it, because my older daughter is a rock journalist, and she's really into rock and roll, alternative rock. And I didn't know anything about that world. So now I'm really acting as her manager. I help her set up interviews. I kind of get the interviews for her. I lobby the media companies and the management companies to get her interviews. And then, I know what you do, because I'm usually on the other side of it. I'm helping her with the questions. And meeting with the people on Skype, setting it up for her. So this really, it keeps me young. I think it keeps me, just learning more. I knew nothing about rock music. Now I can talk to you about Black Veil Bride, Sleep in the Siren Song in Reverse. I know everything about the rock scene now. because of my daughter.
Well, that makes you a cool mom now, though, too. So
I hope so. I mean, I try to be, and I just try to be 100% supportive of them and whatever they need. And
well, I gotta tell you before you move on to the second girl, Hayley, who is your rock journalist, that's her name, right?
Yes, spelled the same way.
Yeah, exactly. And you had posted an interview that she had with, I guess, a band that she was huge fans of.
Yep.
What was the name of that band? Do you remember?
The one that she just did, the
yes,
last one?
Yes.
Rivers Monroe.
Yes, yes. I just want you to tell her from me, she did a fantastic job on that interview.
I will. Thank you.
And I know the interview was only in print. I don't think it was an audio version. It was a print version of the interview. Which, you know, when you're doing a print interview, it's very difficult to kind of convey emotion or anything like that over a page. And she did a fantastic job of getting the right questions to kind of humanize those guys. So she did great, and I would love to talk to her anytime.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, she's such a huge fan. So she comes at the interviews from a fan perspective, even more than a journalist. You know?
Well, I see that too, but she doesn't over fan it. You know what I mean? Like, she's not a fan girl when she's interviewing.
Right.
I'm not like me talking to Gene Watson. I mean, I totally fangirled that interview. I'm not going to lie.
No, she's a fan, but yeah, she definitely respects them as artists. Absolutely.
That's great. So what does your other daughter do?
She is she's going to UMass Amherst as a theater major, just like her mom was. She is currently the lead role in an independent film in Boston called Fragile Object. They just put up a Facebook page. If you ever want to follow Fragile Object, she is the lead role of Emily. And they were filming all through December. They're taking a break in January. And then she's going to have to come home from school. Good thing she's not going far away. It's only like 2 hours from my house. She's going to have to come home some weekends to do some more filming and then go back to school. So she's going to try to make it. You know, she wants to go for it.
So did they catch this creativity bug from their mom, or, I mean, how did that work?
No, they came to me. I mean, they always saw me doing things. I was always, I'm going off to an audition, or, you know, listen to the song that Mommy just wrote. They heard stuff, but when Grace was around 8 years old, she said to me, "Why don't you write a song for me?"
Awesome.
And I was like, "Really?" She said, "Yeah, write a song for me." So I said, "Okay." So I wrote a song called "I'm a Kid." I took her into the studio. She recorded it. We made a music video for it. She's going to kill me for saying this, but it is still on YouTube. It's called "I'm a Kid." She is 18 now. She was 8 back then. But I allowed her to record. She did a song called "My Best Friend," and another one, I can't remember the name, but I wrote a few songs for her. So she, anytime they come to me and wanted to do something, I want to dance, I put them in dance lessons. My mom did that to me. I wanted to play trumpet. She put me in trumpet lessons. I played for 3 years.
Wow.
I'm just trying to pass that on. I mean, my mom took me, everyone who came to town in the 80s, Journey, Prince.
Of course.
Cyndi Lauper. Anyone who came to town, my mom took me because she knew how much I loved music, and she loved it. So I'm just trying to just pass that down, and I'm hoping they pass it down to their kids someday. So.
Well, one thing I did notice, you had written a song. I guess you have an adopted sister, right?
Yes.
And so is this song on the new album?
Yes, it's called Cheerios on the Floor. And I am in talks with a certain organization that might be using it in a fundraising campaign. I can't give the name of it yet, so I'm just going to kind of sneak peek it out there. So you can, if you want to, follow my Twitter. Hopefully I'll be tweeting good news about that song, that it's going to be helping an organization to raise money next year for people who are going through the struggles of infertility. My sister was adopted from Louisiana when she was born. My dad and my stepmom went right out together as soon as she was born, and she is She goes to UMass Amherst also. So my daughter's actually going to be going to the same school as her aunt. How crazy is that?
That is really cool. Would you mind if we played Cheerios on the Floor on this episode?
I wouldn't mind at all. That would be great.
Awesome, because I really, of the songs that you've sent me from your album, I think that one is probably my favorite.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Holly Dunn kind of feel, if you remember Holly Dunn.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking, that and kind of how Martina McBride tells a story, like an In My Daughter's Eyes
right
thing.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I was thinking like kind of like Daddy's Hands, if you remember that song by Holly Dunn. Kind of had that feel to it, and I'm definitely a fan of a song that tells a story. It has content to it, and it's not just there to be there too. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, lyrics mean a lot to me. Yeah.
Sesame
So I would love to hear you talk more about this great new album that you've just released. It's called Songs from the Seventh House. It's by Brodsky. Tell us how the album came about and, more about it. I mean, what can people expect to hear from it?
This was a long time coming, Chris. I started this, I wrote Freedom in 2005. I just released it right now. I think because I was pitching, I started writing songs and I wasn't sure how to make them a reality. And I was really lucky when I went looking for a producer and a guitar player, and I found two in one. Tony Savarino, he's been huge in the Boston scene for so long. He's probably played with over 50 different bands. He was in the Montgomerys. He played for Berlin, Alto Reform School, Ultrasonic Rock Orchestra. He's a professor at Berkeley, I believe, and he has 3 CDs out of just guitar playing called Guitarino, Guitaresque, and they're great. They're just some finger picking, some rocks, all different kinds. So he helped me make my songs a reality. He got me right away. And he said, here's some artists that I want you to listen to. I'd never heard of Lucinda Williams. I wasn't really listening to a lot of Emmylou Harris at the time. He really introduced me to a lot of different artists, and he said, I think this is the sound that you want, and he just got me. So the two of us went to Moon Tower Studios in Cambridge, and we recorded these 6 songs. And at first I started pitching them to other artists, and kept getting toned down. The voice, picked it up as background, but I was looking for people to pick them up and sing them.
Right.
And, and over the years, as I started working with other people and my songs were just sitting there, doing nothing, I said, I think I just have my own style. People, other people, they have their own styles. So I'm just going to put these together and put them out as an album and just get them out there. And I just want people to know, what my journey has been, the kind of bluesy, country and blues. I think I'm definitely country blues.
I agree.
Maybe even more blues than country.
Yeah, the style is definitely very eclectic. It's not something that's played anywhere from a mainstream perspective. That's for sure. It's very homey. It's very down to earth. It makes you feel like you're part of the song. And
Thank you.
I like the album very much. And I'm glad you decided to put it out because, and going back to Lori McKenna too. I mean, Lori McKenna is a great songwriter, but like yourself, she has her own style. She's unique in a way where nobody else is quite like her. But other artists can take songs that she's written and make them their own, even though she still has her own style. Like, for example, Humble and Kind, which is a song that she wrote. Tim McGraw took that song and made it completely different than how Lori made it sound.
I love both versions. I know.
Yeah, and it just kind of reminds me of how your album sounds. I mean, yeah, you have your own style, but I can definitely see a mainstream artist pulling one of your songs and just making it their own, and you're not having to really kind of ditch your own style because of it. You know what I mean?
Well, thanks from your lips. Thank you.
No problem. So, we'll get to talk about more promotional kind of stuff right after our next segment, which is called Rapid Fire. And, Robin is probably scared right now.
I am nervous.
First of all, Robin, I want to thank you for actually, listening to several of our shows. I know that you follow our shows pretty religiously, and I definitely appreciate that from you. So thank you.
It's a pleasure. I love listening to them. They're great interviews.
Thank you very much. So we have Rapid Fire with Robin Brodsky. This is the serious part of the show. If you guys have listened out there, this is when we really try to find out the real nuts and bolts of our guests. So here we go with the first one. Here's Rapid Fire. And 90 seconds, Robin. You have 90 seconds to answer, or
oh no,
your house will be full of chickens if you don't answer in 90 seconds.
No.
And that's not a good thing if you live in Massachusetts, because there are no chickens in Massachusetts, I promise you.
No, only at the supermarket.
Yeah, only at the supermarket. That's right. right, so number one, would you rather have Donald Trump's hair or Hillary Clinton's wardrobe?
Hillary's wardrobe.
Oh, man, she's a Democrat.
I don't mind pantsuits. I think they look comfy.
She does not mind pantsuits. Okay. Number two, would you rather have a kidney stone the size of someone's hand or a pimple on your forehead that makes you look like a unicorn?
Pimple.
All right, she'd rather look like a unicorn.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you could collaborate with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, my God. I would have to say Michael Jackson.
Awesome answer. Okay, if you could listen to one song for the rest of your life, what song would it be?
One song. Oh, one that pops to mind is it's me and my daughter's song. It's from Hootie and the Blowfish, Let Her Cry.
Oh, awesome song. I love that song. All right, number 5, would you rather be able to burp fire or pee Gatorade?
Pee Gatorade.
All right. If you could live in any TV show or movie, what would it be?
I would want to live in Mr. Robot.
Awesome.
One of my favorite shows.
All right. Where is the weirdest place someone has asked you to sign your autographs?
One of the weirdest places. Oh, God. I would have to say one of the weirdest places. In the bathroom.
Okay. All right. Would you rather a foot-long nose or a foot-long tongue?
Foot-long nose.
All right. Number 9. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
One horse-sized duck.
All right. Would you rather smell like a fart or everyone you know smell like a fart?
Everyone I know.
That was Rapid Fire with Robin Brodsky. I hope you guys learned a little bit from her in that Rapid Fire segment. I don't hear any clucking either.
What they learned about me.
Do you see any chicken feathers or anything in your house?
No, I'm chicken free.
All right, chicken free. That's the way to go. So tell folks out there, Robin, where they can purchase your album. Is it available yet out there?
It is. You can, if you just go to cdbaby.com, you can search Robin Brodsky. You can go on iTunes. I just saw it on Google Music, and it will be on Amazon Music soon. Basically everywhere, Spotify, Rhapsody, basically everywhere the place is there.
And to help people out there, it's Robin Brodsky. That's Brodsky.
S-K-Y. Yes, and
so,
R-O-B-I-N. Yeah,
that's right. No Y in the first name either. It's R-O-B-I-N. So,
yes.
Right. So do you have social media stuff out there as well that people can follow along?
I do. If you go on my Twitter, it's my first name, R-O-B-I-N _ and then Brodsky, B-R-O-D-S-K-Y. I don't have a Facebook page for it yet. I have to do that. I've been too busy trying to promote other people. I have to learn to promote myself more. So I really appreciate you promoting me, Chris.
No problem at all. That's my job. So you got to get on that Facebook bandwagon because that seems to be where everything happens.
I do. I've been promoting my daughter Hayley so much that my Instagram page, my other Twitter page, I'm always running her stuff. So I have to find more time to run my stuff, definitely.
So guys, thanks very much again for listening to another great episode of the ETX ROCKS Show. This is episode number 78, the very first one here in the year 2017. And by God, I hope I did a good job filling in for Hayley on her Hayley's Country Tuesdays with one of her good friends and co-writers, Robin Brodsky. Remember, guys, keep on supporting local music and
ETX Rocks.
Covering music-related content of all genres. If it filters through Eastern Texas, then you know we are all over it, baby. From Texarkana to the coast, Dallas down to Houston, and everything in between, we are ETX ROCKS.